Manchester United 2, Nottingham Forest 3, and today is yet another example of why I think Manchester United will not have a great season. And this is another example why I don't think we'll make top 4. Everybody who predicted us to finish in the top 4 and still is predicting us to finish in the top 4, I think is completely ludicrous and out of touch with reality, because today is yet another example, a humbling defeat at home to Nottingham Forest. And on the balance of the game, Nottingham Forest probably will feel like they deserve to win, but as a United fan, I've got to be honest, no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, but I think we let ourselves down, because none of the goals that Nottingham Forest scored were brilliant team goals. They were goals from set pieces, they were goals from Manchester United mistakes, and ultimately they were goals that they didn't really have to work hard for, in my humble opinion. Also, when you look at all the key metrics defining who was better in terms of attacking in this game, Manchester United clearly created more chances, had more total shots, and should have done much better in this game. Now, that's not to say that Manchester United played well and were just unlucky, because that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, despite the fact that Manchester United had their opportunities, we were awful. And I'm not going to sit here and downplay Nottingham Forest's performance, but at the same time, I'm not going to pretend like Nottingham Forest were amazing, because they weren't. They didn't need to be, because Manchester United were bad. There's a lot we can talk about today in terms of individual performances and in terms of collectively what we got wrong as a team. So I'll talk about the former. I'll talk about the latter, then come back to the former, mainly being the collective performances and the team sheet. I was not happy with Ruben Amorim today, because this front three of Rasmus Højlund, Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes is something I've said won't work for a very long time. Rashford, Bruno, Højlund and Garnacho cannot start in a front three or a front four together. Those four cannot be at the same pitch at the same time. At the very least, it needs to be one or two of them starting together and other options in the team, because I don't think we have any hold-up play. I don't think we have any good link-up play. I don't think we have any ball retention and security in the final third when all three or all four of those players start together. And today was yet another piece of evidence as to why our team lacks balance when those three start together, especially when we're at home and we're not playing on the counter. We're not sitting back and trying to hit teams on the break. This whole pacing behind nonsense needs to end. And I know that some people were trying to justify Garnacho starting by talking about his work rate, saying that, even though Rashford's in better form at the moment, we need someone who's going to do the hard yards and the hard graft. But I'm sorry, I'm fed up of hearing about work rate as if Amad Diallo doesn't work hard enough. Why couldn't we play Amad in the 10 and then play someone else at wing back? Why do we have to constantly shoehorn in certain players because they supposedly work hard and they get it and they understand Manchester United? I'm sick of it. It's not good enough. Garnacho is not good enough to play for Manchester United Football Club as a regular starter week in, week out. We need to stop this nonsense. He needs to be on the bench. Rasmus Højlund, he scored today. Well done. I'm happy for his confidence. But outside of goals, what does this guy actually contribute to the team when the rest of the team is struggling? What does he bring to the table? Because remember, he's only scored 2 goals this season. And in his entire Manchester United career, he hasn't scored anywhere near enough goals to justify being starting. To justify starting every week is what I meant to say. Right? For me, if you're a number 9 and you're struggling to score goals, you need to bring something else to the table. You can't just complain about the fact that you're not getting service. You're a modern number 9 playing in the modern game. Do something. Make yourself productive. Drop deep. Make yourself a passing option. Give your teammates something or an outlet to play off of. Don't just stand in the box and be like, oh, well, I'm not getting any opportunities, so I guess I'm just not going to touch the ball or affect the game. Unless your name is Erling Haaland, you have to get involved in some way, shape or form, because you are not scoring nearly enough goals for me to overlook your lack of output in other areas. So for me, Rasmus Højlund should not be starting for Manchester United. I would much rather somebody else started in the 9. But it wasn't all the fault of the attack. Obviously, we can talk about the defense. We can talk about the midfield. That midfield pairing of Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte, for me, was an absolute shocker by Ruben Amorim. This persistence with playing Kobbie Mainoo as a deep midfielder with either Casemiro or Ugarte, for me, is not good enough. Kobbie Mainoo is not a number 6, and he cannot handle the defensive capabilities. I said this in my last video, and I said it even when we beat Everton 4-0. I think that Mainoo playing in the 6, regardless of who he's playing next to, is a problem. He needs to be playing further up the pitch. He should have been playing in that left 10 spot instead of Garnacho, and our pivot should have been Casemiro and Ugarte to bring that defensive security and make sure that we're not conceding silly set pieces and silly fouls and giving away silly corners, which ended up leading to us conceding. Again, also Diego Dalot, he needs to be dropped. He should not be starting. So all of these decisions for me are the reason why we lost today's game. And ultimately, people will blame individuals like they always do. People will blame Delo. People will blame Onana for his horrendous mistake. And he had a really poor game today. So I get it. I'm not going to defend Andre Onana today. He was awful. People will scapegoat some of our defenders. People will scapegoat a lot of individual players. But at the end of the day, these players don't pick themselves. These players do not pick themselves. And I said it before the game. When I saw that team sheet, I was not confident at all. I was hoping that this team was going to make me eat humble pie. I was hoping to come onto this reaction and apologize and say, you know what? I got it wrong. Fair play. But when I saw that team sheet against Arsenal and then some of those same players who played against Arsenal starting again today, it just made me sick, because I'm just like, man, I really have a lot of faith in Ruben Almiron, and I really believe that he is the right guy to take Manchester United forward. But so far, the early signs in terms of who he's choosing to select, it's not looking good. We are only 3 games in, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not going to complain too much. But this is worrying to me. If he continues to persist with Garnacho, Bruno, Højlund, or Rashford and play 3 out of those 4 in the front 3 going forward in the future, then I think we have a massive problem on our hands. Joshua Zirkzee clearly makes us a better team. Whatever you think of his finishing, whatever you think of whether or not he's a proper number 9, it's very clear that he actually has the technical quality to help us progress the ball up the field and maintain some semblance of dominance in terms of possession. He should be starting ahead of the likes of Garnacho purely for that reason, because Garnacho at the moment is not contributing anything at all. And even if he had scored today or got an assist today, I would still be saying, why is this guy starting? Because it does not justify how poor he is in other areas. Like I said, unless your name is Erling Haaland, you can't just rely on GA. You need to bring something else to the table, you know? And nobody in this Manchester United team is getting enough GA for me to say, okay, cool. I don't mind all your deficiencies because you're scoring goals and you're winning us games. Nobody's in that kind of form. Therefore, certain players shouldn't be starting. So that's just my opinion. Another humbling defeat for Manchester United at home, 3-2 to Nottingham Forest. And I believe, if I look at the league table, that keeps us in 13th. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. The talk of Manchester United potentially getting top 4 to salvage the season needs to end. Any Manchester United fan saying this at this point, I think you're just being deluded, and I think you're putting unnecessary pressure on the players. We were never making top 4 this season, especially because of that Dutch man. He really set us back. And as a result of that, I don't think it's fair to impose those expectations on Ruben Almiron. He is coming into a team that is very chaotic. He's coming into a team that clearly isn't built in his image and has a lot of profiles missing from the type of profiles that he needs to bring his style of play to life. And for me, this season is essentially just a free hit as far as I'm concerned. It really is. And the only thing I'm looking at for Manchester United is winning the Europa League or picking up an FA Cup or maybe the Carabao Cup. That's the only thing I expect from Ruben Almiron, is to pick up a domestic trophy. But as far as the league is concerned, I wouldn't be paying attention to the league table. And games like today are a prime example of that. Conceding 3 goals at home to Nottingham Forest is crazy. Yes, they're in the top half of the table. They're 5th now after beating us. And they're obviously having a very good season. But with all due respect, I almost said with all due disrespect, with all due respect, we are more than good enough to beat them at home. So for me, this result is unacceptable regardless of the context. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you did make it this far in the video, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday evening to watch the channel. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and it's been your boy Triple M. Adios.